Hi everybody, we are going to start with our next lecture, and this is going to be process costing here. So process costing is a different way of looking at costing at jobs, and it more has to do with how we look at the total cost of combining materials into one package. So we're costing it out by unit. It's more like instead of looking at a contractor working on a couple of different houses where each one is a job in itself, this is more when we're making Coca-Cola or something and we have just a ton of product and we want to see how much it's costing us per unit, how much is in progress, how much is in different stages of each stage of production. So there is a piece to it that comes in, and it's direct labor. So if we're going to continue to think about surfboards, for example, which we're talking about from our last class, so if we're looking at surfboards, direct labor is going to be the people who are maybe molding the surfboard together, putting it into the right shape, and putting the plastic into the machines. They're literally building these surfboards piece by piece, and there's an aspect of converting one type of material to another, and refining it, making it different. Direct materials is going to be the actual fiberglass or plastic or the packaging that we're going to use to ship it out, even the paint for the logo. And factory overhead, we talked about it, is more of the side where it's rent. It could be the machines themselves, the operations of the machines. So all these pieces come together, and we're converting them. We're converting these pieces into the actual product. So we may have a whole bunch of surfboards out there, but the units themselves are made out of direct labor, materials, and overhead. So there's an aspect of once these three get combined, it's conversion, and then the unit gets built out. So there's quite a bit of a difference between job costing and process costing. So jobs are accumulated by the job. I always think in terms of contracting when I think about jobs, and it's because when you look at jobs by contract, it's like, we spent this much money on painting this house, we spent this much money on renovating the kitchen on this one. It's all by job, as opposed to process costing is more like how much labor and material and overhead we put into making like a ton of Coca-Cola liquid mix, and then I know that resulted in like 10,000 Coca-Cola bottles. So that's more of a homogeneous product, and we just make a lot of it, and then we look at it in terms of units, because we have units, and some of them are half done, some of them are 100% done. So we need to figure out in process costing how much it's costing per unit. So if we know the whole idea with the units is that we want to make sure we know how much we're making money per unit or losing money per unit. So we want to get down to the detail. So looking at this from a top level, before we get into the big example for this lecture, I'll be going over the example for the majority of this lecture, walking you through all the details. So the idea here is that we're combining direct materials, direct labor into work in process, and that goes to finished goods and then cost of goods sold as it moves through the system of your inventory. Okay? Now, in a work in process, it's a similar situation. It's just direct materials, labor, and overhead are all converted and they come into products, and that moves on to finished goods and cost of goods sold. Okay.